Shalom friends, welcome to Daf Reactions, Bava Batra 175. Here we are at the second to last page of the Bavas, the massive section of Talmud we have been learning for over a year now. I can barely remember my life before that. In Bava Kamma, I learned that tort law, regrettably, has nothing to do with tortellini. I'm still learning to cope with this news. No, it was about property and personal damages, covering things like who is liable in the case where your ox, for inexplicable or explicable reasons, pushes your neighbor's ox into a pit, perhaps because they had beef. In Bava Batra, we learned all about civil law, disputed property, returning lost objects, renting, borrowing, and workers' rights. Bava Batra also gave us some of the best Agadah in the Talmud, in my humble opinion. The Oven of Aknai, anybody? The tragic story of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, from which I shall never recover, ever. In Bava Batra, we learned about the laws of ownership and sales and inheritance and business relationships. And I learned personally that I do not like Bava Batra. It is, however, fitting that here at the end of Final Boss Battle Bava, the Talmud gives us a callback to a scenario from the first Mishnah of Bava Kamma, to where it all began with an ox and a pit. The Gemara is using this case to discuss if debts pass on to heirs without a written document of said debt. For example, if, let's call her Elphaba, was digging a pit in the middle of the yellow brick road, a public thoroughfare, and Glinda's ox fell into the pit and killed Elphaba, Glinda is exempt from paying for the damage caused. It was a public thoroughfare, people. And if the ox died because of the fall too, then Elphaba's heirs are liable to pay the value of the ox to Glinda. The ox wasn't able to defy gravity. I'm sorry. Rabbi Ela says that Rav says, obviously this is a situation where Elphaba stood trial for digging the pit before she passed away from her ox-related injuries. And the court found her liable to pay, which is basically the same as a written agreement. The Gemara is like, hang on just 1 second. That Baraita says the ox smooshed her to death by falling on her. How is she there at her trial then? Riddle me that. Rav Adabar Ahava says, well, the Baraita doesn't say she died immediately. She was just severely injured, but had the time to go to court first before dying. The Gemara is like, no. Rav Nachman says the Baraita states the one who dug the pit died from the impact of the ox, which buried her. She was so smooshed, she was two-dimensional. She's not getting out of there to go anywhere, court or anywhere else. The Gemara then figures that in this case, the judges stood at the opening to the pit and ruled that Elphaba was in fact responsible, and thus her heirs were also liable to pay the damages. And with that surrealist Talmud wicked crossover event, it's almost time to launch ourselves, you don't have to make that sound effect though, into Tractate Sanhedrin, which covers a lot of things like who gets to be a judge, capital punishment, and also, fittingly, who gets to go to the world to come and who doesn't. I am sensing some drama, and I am here for it. To everybody who will finish Tractate Bava Batra tomorrow, mazel tov. Mazel tov, you did it. It was a slog, but we did it. Hadran Alach to the Bavas, and onwards to Sanhedrin. May no bardilas or flying monkeys, for that matter, attack us on our way.